Hey everybody, John Skiba here from the Consumer Warrior YouTube channel, and in this video we're going to talk about the pros and the cons of filing a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. But if this is your first time here to my YouTube channel, please click subscribe, check on that bell, that way you'll be notified each and every day when we put out new videos that'll help you deal with serious debt issues. My name is John Skiba, I'm a bankruptcy attorney in the state of Arizona. My information is below this video. We're going to talk about the pros and cons of filing Chapter 7 bankruptcy. If you're dealing with a serious debt issue or just overwhelming debt, and you just don't know what to do, you may have thought about a bankruptcy, and maybe you've done this. You pulled out your notepad and you're trying to do the pros and cons of it. Well, I'm going to give you 4 of the pros and 4 of the cons when it comes to filing a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. Let's start with the good news first. We'll start with the pros. What are some of the benefits of filing a Chapter 7 bankruptcy? And one of the first ones is that it stops collections. If you're dealing with overwhelming collections, and I can tell you collectors are more aggressive now than they've ever been. Part of it is because you have this cell phone in your pocket. They can blow your phone up all day. They can even start using social media. They can file lawsuits. They can garnish your wages. They can levy bank accounts. They can lien your home. They can do all of these things. They have this whole tool belt of things that they can do to really cause a lot of stress and even take things from you. If you file a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, as soon as the voluntary petition is filed, which happens right at the beginning, it's instant. There's an automatic stay. It's called the automatic order from the court that stops all collections against you. And creditors do adhere to it because the court sanctions them heavily if they ignore it. So one of the best pros about a Chapter 7 bankruptcy filing, it can stop the collections immediately and give you a little bit of breathing room as you're moving through this process. The second one is going to be obvious, but it eliminates debt. It gets rid of a ton of debt. It actually is the most powerful debt elimination tool out there. There's a lot of other things. I'm a big Dave Ramsey guy. I taught Financial Peace University, the debt snowball. There's a lot of other tools to get out of debt settlement, but bankruptcy, I always say it's the nuclear option. Nothing eliminates debt quite like a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. Now, it doesn't eliminate all debts. It does eliminate credit cards, medical bills, personal loans, unsecured debts that don't have any type of collateral or property attached to them. However, it often does not eliminate other categories like taxes, child support, spousal support. Those types of debts typically do not go away, and student loans as well, so do not go away through the Chapter 7 bankruptcy process. Also, if you have secured debts like car loans and home loans, you're going to need to continue to pay those debts if you want to keep the car or if you want to keep the house. But if you're dealing with overwhelming medical bills and credit cards and you're dealing with those types of things, there's nothing more powerful than a Chapter 7 bankruptcy for just eliminating that debt completely and allowing you to move forward. Now, the third thing is something it kind of goes along with the first two, but it brings some peace of mind and some structure to the process. I've talked to a lot of people in my 20 years of doing bankruptcy and helping people with debt problems where they try to things like debt settlement or debt settlement companies. And the problem with those is that you have to negotiate with the creditor. The creditor is not on board. They're going to have to voluntarily agree to work with you. They often don't want to do that, or some of them do and the other ones don't. And so you're left in this kind of limbo situation where it's not quite coming together like you thought it would. A bankruptcy is a sure thing. It's federal law. The creditors are forced to participate in the process. And again, like I mentioned with the first, they're forced to stop collections and they don't have any choice in this. The law imposes on them certain restrictions and the ability to even collect on the debt going forward. So not only does it stop the collections, but it brings some structure to it so that you can move through this process and eliminate the debt. Now, the fourth pro, the big one, you hear about this all the time from bankruptcy attorneys like myself, but it does offer a fresh start. It's one of these things where once the bankruptcy is discharged, which is the order from your judge saying that the debts have been eliminated, when you look at your credit report, the creditors will still be there, but they'll literally be zeroed out. You're not going to have any of those debts hanging over your head. It takes it out of collections and you're able to move forward in rebuilding your credit. Now, that's one of the things we're going to talk about in the cons is it does impact your credit, but I can tell you this, almost without exception, people recover as far as their credit score goes much more quickly than they ever anticipate. Let's jump over now to the negative side or the cons, the downside of filing a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. The first one, which why they hesitate on it at all, is because it will do significant damage to your credit score. Now, it's important to know if you're already in a lot of active collections and lawsuits and garnishments or a foreclosure, the damage may have already been done. That's going to really happen from the bankruptcy. If your credit score is in the mid 500s or lower, you're probably only going to see about a 30 to 50 point hit on your credit score. So it's not going to drop a whole lot further if you file a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. However, if your credit is high, and I run into people literally almost almost every working day of the week in my law practice, where they tell me they've kept everything current, but they just can't do it anymore. They haven't been buying groceries. They haven't been paying their power bill and all this kind of stuff because they're trying to keep these credit cards current. If your credit score is high, if your credit score is over 700, you're probably going to see a 100 to 150 point hit on that credit score, and it's going to bring it down significantly. As I mentioned in the other section, though, people do recover from it. I can tell you that while it does stay on your credit report for 10 years, most people's credit score fully recovers about 2 years after a Chapter 7. FHA and VA will do normal mortgage loans again 2 years after a Chapter 7 filing. Other lenders are about 3 years. And I can tell you credit cards and car loans, for good or for bad, they're available almost immediately. The second negative thing about a Chapter 7 bankruptcy is it is possible to lose assets. The way to think of a Chapter 7 bankruptcy is the law is going to eliminate all of those debts, wipe them out completely. You don't have to repay anything. The other side of it is they're going to look to see if you have any assets where the asset could be sold and the money given to your creditors. Now, most things are protected through various exemptions. There's exemption laws on the state and the federal level that protect things like homes and cars and retirement accounts and household goods. I can tell you in Arizona, 95% of people that go through the bankruptcy process do not lose anything, and those that do, it tends to be fairly minimal. The idea that you can lose assets, it's a definite reality, but it's something that if you counsel with a bankruptcy attorney like myself beforehand, you can get a good idea if it's something that's realistic and something that should steer you in a different direction if it's going to cause a big issue. Now, the third negative thing or the downside is there's definitely some stress involved in it. Part of it is the bankruptcy process is a little tedious. They require a ton of information. The typical bankruptcy petition and the schedules that we submit to the court are 100 pages long. They're full of information on your creditors, on assets, on income, your monthly budget. And so I have to work with my clients in preparing that. I have to get a lot of information. So it can be stressful getting bank statements, pay stubs, tax returns, all of those types of things, bringing them all together so that we can draft the documents to submit them to the court. The process does take about 4 months. And while your creditors can't contact you, if there are assets, the trustee may be looking into them, and it can cause some stress. So there's a little bit of anxiety associated with this. I do see, though, that the anxiety is less with the bankruptcy process than it is with the collectors who they're having a free-for-all prior to a bankruptcy filing. Now, the fourth negative or the downside is one that's near and dear to my heart, and that's attorney's fees. There is some costs associated with filing for bankruptcy. Right now, in 2023, in Arizona, the filing fee for that the court charges is $338. So right off the top, you have a $338 charge to even get into the bankruptcy court. Now, myself, we do our Chapter 7 cases almost universally on a zero down payment plan. We don't charge anything up front to get the initial petition filed, and then we break up the payment, the rest of the legal fees into 12 monthly payments to make it very manageable. So while I understand that it's something that you don't want to have to spend as far as attorney's fees and costs, I can tell you an attorney helping you through the bankruptcy process is a super valuable thing. It's not something you should try on your own. It's a very complex law. Somewhere along the line, bankruptcy got a reputation of that it's just filling out forms. It is not even close to just filling out forms. And you can get yourself into a lot of trouble if you don't have an attorney. And if I could tell you, that, hey, you can get rid of all your debt, but it may cost you, $2,000 or $3,000 to get the whole thing done, you would jump at that in a heartbeat outside the bankruptcy realm. Again, I have information below this video if you want to do a consultation with my office, and you can discuss the fees in detail, but I can tell you it's a very economical way to eliminate a whole lot of debt. Hopefully that clarifies some of that for you. If you do have additional questions, or if you'd like to set up a consultation, just click on the links below. That'll get you in touch with my office. We'll be happy to talk to you and see if bankruptcy is a good option for your specific situation. Thanks for watching today.